You have something special. You have greatness in you. This is Les Brown. I want to see some hearts and some thumbs up. I've got two young men that I'm going to have the opportunity to be with, and they have questions they want to ask me. One of the things I believe that we learn, we earn, we pass it on. And so at this stage of my life, my goal is to pass on the knowledge and experiences and skills that I have to this younger generation. And so I got two special guests that we will introduce you to. But the thinking behind what I'm doing is that all of our kids cannot be rappers. And I've got a son who loves rapping, and he's sitting in jail right now. It creates a thug mentality. I'm telling you what I know. They can argue to defend it if they want to. But words are very powerful. And when you're listening to nonsense day in and day out, it's garbage in, garbage stays, and it shows up in your attitude and your behavior, where you don't have enough gumption to pull your pants up. You don't have a sense of decency. Anything goes. And these young men, they pull their pants up already. Don't have to tell them. They have a level of awareness and maturity and consciousness, and they have a sense of destiny, and they're doing something with their lives. So I want you to meet Dayton. How are you, Dayton?
I'm
Dayton
great.
Williams.
Les, it's a pleasure to be here, sir.
Thank you.
for having
And
us.
yes, thank you. And this is Josh Williams. Now, the two of you met in college.
Yes, sir. In college,
Yeah. What were you majoring in?
I was business economics and communications.
And I was human services and counseling, actually.
Yeah. And then out of college, you connected and you decided to create a business together.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes. And so, what is the business?
So we speak together at middle schools and high schools. In addition to that, we run a real estate company. We wholesale houses, so we find off-market properties and we sell them to investors.
Okay. So how long have you been doing that now?
For about a year and a half.
Yes. And so you're about to move from Kentucky to the United States to come here to Atlanta.
United States.
I'm just messing with you. Okay, great. Good. Now, so you have some questions you'd like to ask me. You've been speaking for a while. So would you like to start off first?
Sure, I'll start off. So we know you've been speaking for a while, and you've done a ton of corporations, right? So you said earlier that you started doing schools. How did you even get your start and get your foot in the door with any schools to bring you in without having any type of book or any type of validation or credentials to get into a school?
I developed a relationship with some teachers,
Okay.
and I asked them, do you ever have a need for a speaker to come in, to talk about how to begin to achieve better grades, how to change your attitude, how to begin to look at your dreams in the future and how you see yourself? And those who said yes, I said, I speak on that, and I would be willing to come in and speak to them. And I started really in elementary school, because I sold the teachers on that we're molding now what we would be in the future, and the sooner we work with young people to begin to create another mindset beyond sports, beyond entertainment, I believe that if we can have little league football teams and baseball teams and basketball teams, we can have little league dermatologists and endocrinologists and
Yes, sir.
architects
Yeah,
and engineer.
Yes, sir.
And so they shared that vision with me, and I started doing that in Miami, Florida, where I was born and raised. Yes.
Okay.
So, and as you were, what actually inspired you to form your messages? How did you form your messages, and based on what did you? I guess what I want to say is, what did you want to teach the kids at that time? What did you want them to know?
At that time, I wanted to motivate and inspire them to be motivated about learning to discipline themselves, to be focused, and how to resist negative peer pressure. And because of just like the issue dealing with bullying right now, if you learn how to have a strong sense of self and believe in yourself and confidence, bullies are very selective of who they bully. They know they're looking for what they call a victim. But during that time, bullying was not popular. But I knew that if a kid was going to make it, they had to have a strong sense of self. I lived in Overtown, so in Overtown, you had to know your stuff. You had to know who you were, because they had the 14th Street Gang and the 20th Street Gang. And so where I lived off 10th Street, there were no gangs there. So if you did not have a strong mindset, you would be influenced negatively by either one of those gangs who would try and recruit you. And so I was never recruited, and I knew guys from both gangs, and so they respected me, my brother, and my cousin Boo. They never messed with us. We never had any issues. But I learned a long time ago the value of believing in yourself, and so I learned from my mother. My mother, she never bowed to anyone. She would stand up to anybody. And watching her, I'm adopted, and I'm a mama's boy. And I remember when a teacher had brought me home for acting up in school, and she said, "Mamie, don't you paddle that boy." And my mother said, "You run that damn school, and I'll run my damn house." I said, "Okay." But I wanted to say, "Mama, please listen to her." If you're just joining us, we're talking to Dayton and Josh. These are two young men who are involved in real estate, and also they're motivational speakers, and their goal and objective is to speak with young people, giving them a sense of purpose. Our goal is to interview entrepreneurs and young up-and-coming speakers like these two young men. Now, what do you do in the real estate space?
So we find off-market properties. So properties that people are maybe dealing with probate or facing a foreclosure or whatever it may be. We go in and we offer a fair cash price, and we get those over to an investor or someone who wants to flip it, rent it out, or just do some type of job with that. So we, of course, you may have heard of the movie The Big Short, or when these huge corporations came in the recession and they just bought up everyone's houses for pennies on a dollar.
Yeah.
It just kicked everybody out. It left them with nothing. So we come in, we make a fair cash offer that's going to at least help them in their situation, get them out of the property, solve their problem, and also solve the problem for the investor that's going out and looking for an investment property, an asset. So we connect the two, and it's called wholesaling.
Okay. Now, why are you moving from Kentucky to Atlanta?
Well, we think the market here is probably going to be more lucrative here and more beneficial for us. We think we could probably get a lot more done here in Atlanta as well. And then two, we've kind of heard from my family and whatnot that Atlanta is kind of like, although it's a big city, there's a lot of support, especially in the black community. So we want to get down here and build those connections and be able to add value to other businesses and build those networks and build Atlanta into something greater than it is now.
Okay.
Man, Mr. Les Brown lives here too. That's why.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Well, now let me ask you, what would you like to know from me relative to my speaking industry, the journey that I've taken?
Well, first off, I think I want to know is out of all the things you could have chose to do in the world, why speaking? You know, what drew you to speaking? You know, there's so many other things you could have done.
What drew me to speaking was an incident where I met this gentleman named Mr. Leroy Washington. He was a speech and drama teacher at Booker T. Washington High School in Miami, and I was in his class. And he asked me to go before the class and read from a script to work out a problem. And I told him I couldn't do it. I said, "I'm just here to see MacArthur Stevens. I'm not one of your students." He said, "Well, do it anyhow." I said, "I can't, sir." And so the other students started laughing, saying, "He's Leslie. He's got a twin brother, Wesley. Wesley's smart, but he's DT." And he said, "What's DT?" And they said, "He's the dumb twin." And everybody began to laugh. And I said, "I am, sir." And he came from behind his desk. He looked at me. He said, "Don't you ever say that again. Someone's opinion of you does not have to become your reality."
Yes, sir.
And I've come to learn that how people live their lives is a result of the story they believe about themselves. And when he said that, he interrupted my story. I believed that I was a dumb twin because what was said to me over and over again, faith comes by hearing and hearing and hearing. And so I followed him around. I was labeled educable mentally retarded in the 5th grade, put back in the 4th grade, and stayed in that category, and failed again in the 8th grade. But I followed him around, and I loved how he dressed and how he spoke. He was, when I eulogized him, they called him the great communicator. Me and Dr. Anthony Sweeting, who was a childhood friend of mine, who both of us were mentored by Mr. Leroy Washington. And so I admired his communication skills. He said, to me one time, Mr. Brown, you want to be successful? I said, yes, sir. He said, what does that look like for you? I said, I want to buy my mother a home. He said, here's what you need to do. 1, develop your mind. You don't get in life what you want, you get in life what you are. 2, develop your communication skills, because once you open your mouth, you tell the world who you are. And 3, practice the principle of OQP, only quality people. Hang around people that you can learn from, that you can grow from, and that can help you to achieve your goals and dreams. And he used to sit in his car in front of his house and talk to me for hours on end. I've never known my father, and I'm adopted. And that through that coaching, and I heard him speaking in the auditorium to the students, and how he had them mesmerized. And I said, I want to be just like him. That was my destiny. I said, I didn't know at the time I was looking at my destiny, but I said, I want to do that. And that stayed with me for years. And so finally, after several years, I invested in myself, got a coach named Mike Williams, who's still my coach now. This year makes 51 years.
Wow.
He's the author of the book, The Road to Your Best Stuff. I encourage all of you to get it, The Road to Your Best Stuff. I wrote the foreword for that book by Mike Williams. And he saw this Les Brown before I saw it. And I remember talking to him about speaking, and he said, who do you see as your audience? And I said, as I shared with you, the NAACP and the Urban League, and the phone went dead. Boom. I called back. I said, we lost the signal. I said, no, we didn't lose the signal. I hung up. I said, why would you do that? He said, I want to work with somebody who want to speak to the world. And hung up again. I called him back. I said, that's me. and so he helped to give me a broader sense of myself and a larger vision of what I was capable of doing. And I didn't know that I could do it. I was suffering from possibility blindness. But he encouraged me and motivated me. And that's the power of a positive relationship. You want to look at the relationships in your life and ask yourself the question, is this an asset or a liability? And you want to live your life in such a way that is an example and not a warning. An example of what to do, or not a warning of what not to do.
Right.
Now, the first time you actually spoke, how young were you?
That's a good question. I was in Columbus, Ohio. I spoke at East High School for a graduation.
Okay.
Yeah, I was a disc jockey in Columbus, Ohio. I was LB, Triple P, Les Brown, your platter playing Papa. There were none before me, there will be none after me. Therefore, that makes me the one and only, young and single and love to mingle, certified, bona fide, indubitably qualified to bring you satisfaction and a whole lot of action. Look out, baby, I'm your love now. Back in the day, I was bad.
So is this what, late 20s?
Yes.
Late 20s? Okay.
Yeah. I was in my late 20s. At East High School on Broad Street in Columbus, Ohio. I gave a speech there, and people enjoyed it, and I enjoyed the applause. I didn't even know that I could do it well. And then from there, I started getting other requests all around Columbus, and then I was in radio at the time. Then I became a community activist, doing all kind of editorials and campaigns and demonstrations against police deadly use of force, and I was ultimately fired for being so controversial. And I ran for the Ohio legislature and was elected to 3 terms. I resigned from there to go back to Miami to take care of my mother. And I decided, after talking to 5 people in my mother's living room, I said, I can use this as a platform to generate money and not have to get a job, have the flexibility to take care of my mother, and be able to help people. That's what my passion is. And so I called Mike to come help me, and he did, and then has even to this particular day. But I enjoy speaking. I mean, it's a passion of mine. I talk in my sleep.
That's really interesting. So you got started in speaking. Now, here's the question, because we have speaking, then we have speaking as a business, because you're getting paid for it and you're doing it full time and you have bills. So you have to pay those bills. How did you go from volunteering to speak to being paid to speak? How did you monetize your voice?
Well, the most thing, and that's a very good question, the most important thing is get a coach who's experienced, accomplished, and who can see what you can't see. And so I saw Mike Williams speaking, and I loved his style and how he mesmerized an audience. And I talked to him and said, hey, I'd like to do what you do. And he said, I can teach you, and are you willing to invest in yourself? And I said, yes. And so what I discovered, that in order to get paid, and I see a lot of people come out here struggling and be seduced by all of these tremendous marketers out there and people who speak just to sell. Mike Williams taught me how to speak to create an experience to transform lives, and you can also make money. All right. And so you have to have a keynote. You have to have a message that represents you. We know T.D. Jakes, Woman Thou Art Loose. There was a guy named Adam Clayton Powell. Keep the Faith, Baby. We think Malcolm X. By any means necessary. Dr. King, I Have a Dream. And Les Brown, You Gotta Be Hungry. So you have to have a keynote that represents you, your story in the context of that keynote, and you use that strategically to interrupt a person's story that they believe about themselves. Every audience have a story, and there are stories inside of each audience, different. So you as a speaker, what you do, and what I train speakers to do, that allowed me to dominate this industry, was that when I came in, it was the Good Old Boys Network. Nobody looked like me, and they were just giving information. Mike assured me if information could change people, everybody would be skinny, rich, and happy. So he taught me how to orchestrate a story with my story, create a experience, distract, dispute, and inspire people who come into your audience. What you do with your story is distract them from their story. Through the execution of your story, you dismantle their current belief system and then inspire. You inspire them after being in your presence under the impact and the spell of your words to start writing a new chapter with their lives. That's how he taught me. And so as a result, information, it tells, but a story, it sells people on themselves. And it expand the mind, touch the heart, and ignite the spirit. And that's the training that I'll be doing with Kimberly over there, and gentleman Yavas, who just came in from Turkey, and other people that I work with on a one-on-one basis at this time.
Okay. So it's about the packaging of the actual story itself, and the structure of it, having a keynote, having something where someone hears your voice or thinks of you, and they know that's the story they're going to tell.
They hear about that story that you tell that has touched them, and they leave there feeling better about themselves, but talking about you.
Right.
That's like if like I would do an interview with you on camera if you were one of my clients, to interview you and pull out certain stories that might not be important to you, but it's important to people that's out here. You have to have somebody who has a trained eye that can see and that can hear. Then I share with you how to organize it and how to deliver it so that you can be able to impact an audience. When you transform people's lives, they will buy your products. They're going to want to come and hear you, even tell your story again and again. I've been telling You Gotta Be Hungry for years. People book me in corporations and say, don't you forget to tell the disc jockey story and Drake rock Drake. Okay, and I had one guy who said, I heard you in elementary school. And I said, how old are you now? 47. I said, oh my God, I'm old as dirt. He said, but you remember the disc jockey story? I said, yes. He said, make sure you tell me that. All right. He was working at AT&T, but he remembered that story. So it's like an artist you hear a song from that you love, and when that artist come to town, even though you bought the record or the CD and loved it, when that artist comes to town, you will pay to go see them sing that song. The same thing with you as a speaker, not just presenting it, but experiencing the story in such a way you create an experience where people, their minds are expanded about what's possible for them. They change how they see themselves. And when you change how people individually and collectively see themselves, they change how they see life. Okay? And you inspire them to go for what they see. The Book of Life says, I'll give you all your eyes can see. And so that, to me, is the important part of speaking, and the fascinating part, that you can transform people from a stage with a microphone that you don't even know. They're strangers, but when they leave, their heads up, the shoulders are back, and they're ready to go take life on. Yes, that's really exciting.
Let me ask you this question. So, once you started speaking, you at some point ended up sleeping in your office. We all know about that story. Was that before or after you started speaking?
I started speaking, and I caught a Greyhound bus from Miami, Florida, to Atlanta to speak for Dr. Barbara King here, who has a center here, and I spoke for her, and then I spoke for another organization in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and then I went from there. I became involved in the Dick Gregory Bahamian diet. This is before you guys showed up on the planet, and went to Detroit and spoke there for them and stayed there. And that's when I was bathing in the St. Donald Hall in the Penobscot building on the 21st floor, hiding in the closet when the janitorial service came in to clean the office. That's where I was going through the tough times. And then I met a guy that I call an angel named Bud McKinney. He was an orthodontist, and he and his wife Doris, who just passed, invited me to come stay at their home. When you make a commitment to go for your dream, I believe angels will show up to support you, to help you. And he came to me around 5 o'clock in the morning, man, blew me away. And he said, do you have a business plan? And I said, no. He said, how you plan to make it? I said, speaking. He said, here. And he gave me an envelope. Had $95,000.
Oh, wow.
He said, my mother died not too long ago, and I haven't laughed in over 6 months.
Wow.
And when you laugh, you made me laugh. He said, anybody that could make me laugh after my mother died, he said, you got a gift, and I want to help you. And he gave me $95,000. And I said, do you want me to sign something? He said, I believe when you make it, you'll come back.
Have you ever had that much money before then?
No, absolutely not. No, that's the most money I had at one time in my life at that time. And it took me 3 years to earn my first million. And I came back. I gave him his $95,000 plus 35% interest. And he wouldn't take the interest. He said, I've had signed contracts with people, and they never came back and paid me. And you just did it on your word. He said, you keep that. Yeah, and so that just took me to a whole new level. I think that where you just, as George Washington Carver said, do what you can where you are with what you have and never be satisfied. So like you reached out to my sister Sharon DeVella, and you had no idea that she would call me, and then I would invite you by for lunch, all right? Yeah. And then we would do what we're doing right now, yes, okay? So I think that when you have a passion to do something, that you will attract the people who can help you and open doors for you, as my sister has done, and be able to get some ideas of what's possible. And so, and one of the reasons I'm talking to both of you, I remember a guy, the Essence magazine, no, it was Black Enterprise. They had these tours of all these various speakers, and I approached one of the guys and said, hey, I like to do what you do. Would you mind having a few words with me? And he looked at me with such contempt and disdain, like, you're nobody, and walked away, didn't speak. And I said, when I make it, I'll never be like that. So that's why you didn't ask me to interview you. I asked you, do you mind if I interview you? All right? Because I said I never want to be that kind of person. I know that I'm here because of God's grace and mercy. I know that I'm here because a lot of people saw me and said, hey, I saw this guy. He calls himself Mrs. Mamie Brown's baby boy, and I think you ought to bring him in to speak. People I'll never meet, and that's how I built my career. The average speaker gets around 25 to 30 requests a year. I get over 3,000
Wow.
even to this particular day.
How do you decide which ones to take, which ones not?
The most money? That's an easy one. All right, easy one. Yes, indeed. I got a call today. A guy, he wanted me to come to a foreign country, and he offered me $125,000, and I said, "Thank you so much, but no."
Wow.
And I remember the time that I just said yes. Took my mama, have her bake them some sweet potato pies, and took my children out to shine their shoes for $100,000 for an hour. Come on! I used to work for the Miami Sanitation Department, where I earned just over $35,000 a year. So to be able to earn $100,000 an hour doing something you love, and they fly you over first class and stay in a 5-star hotel, to me, it doesn't get any better than that. When you can make people feel good about themselves, make a difference, make an impact, and earn money in the process, it's very exciting. And so that's why I'm excited about talking to two of you. How old are you?
24.
24. How old are you?
23. We're 24
Yeah.
in 3 weeks.
24 in 3 weeks. Okay, very good. I'm 75. So both of you still in diapers. So I'm honored to learn from you, and I'm very, very blessed for you to ask me questions. So bring it on. What else you got?
Now, was there an initial moment where you said, "I have something here"? You know, I understand you mentioned the guy who paid you the $95,000, but is there a moment before then where you said, "Holy cow, I have something here"?
I'm gonna blow your mind with my answer. What was the brother's name that was running for governor in Florida?
When? How long ago?
No, I mean the brother. There's only one brother that ran for Florida statewide governor. I can't think of his name right now. Okay, but I created commercials online for Stacey Abrams here, and some commercials in Florida for him. And his name escaped me, but it's going to come. Do you see his name? No, look at that. Somebody's going to put it on the screen. So go on. Go on the screen. So they invited me to come down and speak. Now, I'm from Miami, and it was at Miami-Dade Community College, huh? Gilliam, absolutely. Thank you. And so when I went down there, it was Miami-Dade Community College in the South End. And people were talking, and students were outside. It was an outside event. And they introduced me to speak. When they introduced me to speak and I came up, all of the noise around and conversations that people have, they stopped. And they listened to me. And I heard my voice coming through the system. That was 3 months ago. And I called my daughter, Ona, and I said, "Ona, I got a voice that people listen to." She said, "You just discovered that?" I said, "Yes." I said, "I was listening to me, and I looked at them and how they were listening to me." I said, "They listened to me real deeply. They didn't listen to everybody the same way." She said, "Daddy, you're not like everybody else." She said, "Everybody else can see what you got, but you always say you cornbread. You're more than cornbread." I said, "Okay, but I feel like cornbread." So I discovered, Dayton, around 3 months ago, that I have something here. Isn't that interesting? In spite of all the things that I've achieved, being selected among the top 5 speakers in the world, the Golden Gavel Award from Toastmasters International, the highest award from National Speakers Association, speaking to over 80,000 people in the Georgia Dome, and the reason I didn't see that as a turning point, because I don't remember the speech. I was so frightened I don't remember. All I remember. You watched that live?
I've watched that one 10, 20 times.
Okay, well, all I remember is running back and forth to the bathroom before they introduced me. Okay, but but I think that, I don't even remember giving the speech or the audience, and that bothers me. I wanted to go to a hypnotist see, I know it's in my subconscious mind. They can pull it back up and that I can see it and how I handled it, you know. But when I look at the video, I look at it like you see it and how you see it as a viewer, but not as that's me. No, I don't remember any of that at all, except when they gave me the mic and Mike Williams said, "Brownie," I said, "Yes." He said, "You got this." And when he said that, and I looked in his eyes and I saw that, that's all I remember when I turned in this. That's all I remember.
Was that the largest crowd you ever spoken to?
80,000 people in the Georgia Dome. Yes, I've spoken to 60,000. I was in Poland about 3 years ago. I spoke to 30,000 people there. But I've done audiences between 40 to 70,000 several times, but 80,000 was the largest number I ever spoke to before.
So you've spoken to millions of people across the world. You've traveled to all types of different countries. You've made millions of dollars. I'm sure you've made lifelong friends all over the world as well. What has been the biggest blessing you think that you've gained from this journey of speaking and going out and motivating people?
That's a very good question. The biggest blessing I have received is the love and the support and the prayers that people have had for me. You know, as I talk to the two of you, and one of the reasons that I want to do more interviews of this nature, I'm kicking cancer's butt, been doing it for 27 years, and according to Cancer Centers of America that I go to for treatment here in Atlanta, they say, and I'm watching my language, they see you have 4th stage cancer and you've had it for several years. So we all have an expiration date. But when I speak, even though I've dealt with pain, when I grab the microphone, I don't feel any pain. And when I let it go, it comes back and says, "I hope you got a little urinal near your bed, because you're going to pee tonight." You know, the thing comes back, but I don't have to worry about that now because of CBD oil. But the knowing that people say to you, "You made a difference in my life." Like Mr. Washington made a difference in my life. Like my mother made a difference in my life. And say, "I was in a tough place. You saved my life." That gives my life a sense of meaning. People who have a goal and a dream that's bigger than them, because my goal is to inspire people to live a life that will outlive them. And so you're my future. You're in your 20s. So when the young men like yourselves that I train and influence, and the people that you train and influence, and that they train and influence, that we're in God's pyramid. And that's why I'm glad that you've decided that you wanted to be speakers who have a level of intelligence and experience and expertise that can benefit us and create an achievement-driven culture rather than an entertainment-driven culture, okay? And so I'm building my legacy now. You know, most men, when they die, they leave liabilities. I was looking for one of disc jockeys that mentored me in radio. I saw on YouTube where they had a GoFundMe for his burial.
Oh, wow.
And that happened to a lot of people, you know. So my goal is to live a life that will outlive me, to touch and impact lives, and to train other young people like yourselves. The things that I learned through trial and error over the years, that now you can get those things from me in the snap of a finger and make an even greater impact, because you're going to stand on my shoulders and you're going to see things and do other things and go into a future that I will never see. So that, to me, is very exciting and rewarding. And so that's what keeps me going and get me waking up in the morning and fired up and hungry.
I'd like to ask, when you, as a speaker, how do you avoid being content driven and actually meet the need of the audience or provide an experience that they can take home with them?
That's a very good question. And what I do, which I will share with you, one of the key things that Mike Williams taught me, he said, Brownie, never think and never speak to an audience what you believe that they need. He said, in all that get understanding. He said, commit to communications intelligence. Never let what you want to say get in the way of what they want to hear. He said, give them an instrument where they can answer questions about what they are looking for, and then incorporate that around your story and orchestrate and create an experience so that you're speaking to their sweet spot, so that you're speaking to what they want. You're speaking to what they told you that they're looking for and that they need, that will elevate them to the next level. So I have a needs assessment that I give every audience, to the CEO, to the marketing director, to the top performers. Then I come in early at the event and I interview people in the audience and said, if you were me, off the record, and about to speak to this audience, what is it you feel that they need? And so they will tell me at least 5 to 7 people. And so then what I will do is incorporate those stories in my presentation when I stand up, including the person who signed the check, and deliver that speech and make it entertaining, thought-provoking, a lot of energy and laughter. And that's how I create repeat business and referral business through that process. But I'm always speaking to what they want, not what I want. If you like what you're hearing, I want you to like this page and share it, like it and share it. I'm talking to Josh and Dayton, 2 young motivational speakers. They're talking to the old one. How about how I got here? So I want you to like this page and share it. And if you're looking at this, that anybody have any questions they'd like to ask? You have another question?
Yes, sir. So we talked a little bit about your goals and dreams and how you're building a legacy and wanting to coach now. Is that more so what you're focusing on now, or are you still dreaming big? What's coming next for you?
I'm focusing more on training. I am a trainer. I started out training. I can train youth. I can train adults, ex-offenders, veterans, people from all walks of life. And so my goal is to do more training and train the trainer on the process that I've developed. We have created a franchise called the Les Brown Greatness Challenge that will be providing training globally for corporations and organizations, teaching people presentation power, how to develop a strong sense of self, and the training methods and techniques that we use when we speak for corporations to duplicate that and replicate that around the planet. So this franchise, which we have created, this will take my work into the future. And here's the good thing, that I'll be training 75 years from now. And how that is going to be, we have a hologram. Guy said, Mr. Brown, I know you know a thing or two because you've seen a thing or two. He said, I'm going to show you a jaw dropper. And they dimmed the lights. And he said, go, leave the room for a moment, please. I said, okay, came back in. And there they had this hologram like Tupac and Michael Jackson.
Was it the full size hologram?
Full size.
That's scary.
Yes. I said, oh my God. He said, hello to yourself. I said, hello. And myself said hello in my voice. It took my voice offline. It says, ask him a question. I said, what do I mean by the power of a larger vision? It says it's a vision beyond your circumstances and mental conditioning, and decrease the level of unconscious self-hatred that caused 95% of black men to be killed by other black men.
So this thing is computed and programmed to think like
just like Siri.
Wow.
I was blown away. He said, what other question you have? I said, I got to go to the bathroom. I said, if I get excited, I got to go, you know. Man. I was blown away. So this hologram will be able to teach and train my classes in the future. And my kids and my grandkids will be able to upgrade information and be able to make it relevant and evergreen. So that's what technology it not only does it eliminate geography, but it eliminates your having to leave the scene, that you have a presence in the future doing what you want to do to impact the planet, even with cutting edge technology that will be introduced that's not here now. So that's what I've been excited and focused on, and I'm about to pull away from speaking as much, probably maybe 7 times a year, because 7 is my lucky number, and spend more time doing what I'm doing right now with the two of you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. What is somebody asking?
Several people have asked how they can access your training.
One-on-one training?
Yes, sir.
You can email me at lesbrown77@gmail.com. lesbrown77@gmail.com. Do it now. The first 7 people, I want you to get their information, and we'll vet them and see if it's a good fit. Yes. And send me 5 things you feel that I can help you do, and then we'll get back to you to see if it's a good fit for the two of us. Yes. What next question?
So this question isn't much about speaking. It's about you and your mindset. And this is something that I've always just been so intrigued about with people who come from situations like you, coming out of poverty and having so many obstacles to overcome. And even when you were, building your business and you were in that bathroom or in that office and you were sleeping and you kept going. So many other people would just quit. And I just look at myself sometimes, and for example, my younger brother, who's 20 years old, he was shot and killed last year. 2 months later, yeah, thank you, I appreciate it. 2 months later, I turned it into a book. And most people, they just give up and they just back out. But when you have situations like that, you're just like me, where you just lean into it and you keep going, just like your book, I Won't Stop Until I Win. Is that something that's just in us? Is that something that can be taught? Because I've always just felt different.
There are people who are skaters. Psychologists call them skaters. You take their sight and you have a Stevie Wonder. And so you kill his brother and you have a Josh, who's an entrepreneur, who speak to young people, who look to reduce the carnage that's taking place in our society. Or a Dayton, who decided that I'm going to be a voice of hope and inspiration to this generation that's infected by virus, HIV, hood-infected virus, AIDS, addiction to incarceration and death syndrome. And so, as much as you have chosen this path, you were chosen for this path. I strongly believe that. And if you had not done it, you would be where my youngest son is now. He's incarcerated. Because he's brilliant, he's got the talent, but he does not have the character. T.D. Jakes said, "Lord, don't let my talents take me where my character can't keep me." And I said to him, if you get out of alignment, given what God has given you, me as your father, and your talent, if you get out of line and step to the left and start operating in darkness, trust me on this, it won't last long. You'll be taken out. And so the fact that you have chosen to focus, the road to life is straight and narrow, and few there be that find it, because few there be that are willing to discipline themselves, few there be that are willing to hold themselves to a higher standard, few there be that are willing at a very young age to have a feeling and a mindset that you were created on purpose, with a purpose, for a purpose, and following that purpose like the two of you are doing now. I wasn't going to let you out of here without people being able to experience you. I'm sitting in the presence of greatness. You will see a future that I won't see. And I thank God that my sister brought you by the house so we can spend this time together. And I want you to tell people who might be interested in getting in touch with you how they can get in touch with you.
Absolutely. Hey guys, if you want to get in contact with us, you can always give me a phone call at 270-401-8316. Also visit my website. It is realjwilltv.com. Real REAL and JWill JWILL TV.com.
Give the phone number again.
Phone numbers being 270-401-8316. We would love to come speak to any of your students, any high schools, middle schools, elementary schools, any type of FCA, conferences, organizations, anything. If you have a student or a kid in the basement that needs some talking, give us a shout. We would love to come out there.
As for me, Dayton, you can reach me at 270-403-2109. Once again, that's 270-403-2109. Also, you can email me at Dayton Williams, DaytonWilliams .begreat, BEGREAT @gmail.com. DaytonWilliams.begreat@gmail.com.
Okay, well, listen. What I'm going to do is have Kim put that on the screen so they don't have to repeat this over again. So
Some
you'll get that
listeners
from
have
the.
posted it again.
Some listeners have already posted it.
They're supporting you already.
Thanks,
Yeah,
guys.
yeah,
I appreciate it.
already.
I
Okay,
appreciate it.
fantastic. Okay, yeah. So make sure it goes around several times so people can get their numbers. Okay, so give me another question from each one of you, and we'll close this out.
As the last conversation we were having, how important is having a vision? I believe that you can manifest things into your life, and I believe in the law of attraction. Being able to see down the road and the things that you want in life. How important is vision for your journey and getting you from where you are right now to where people want to be?
Vision is very important. Holding the vision. One of the things that's missing from the law of attraction is work. They don't mention work anywhere.
Totally. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you've got to have work. Commit thy works unto the Lord, of thy thoughts should be established in all thy ways. Acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy path. So I had a card. I am the world's greatest orator. Ask it. On the flip side, I had, ask and it shall be given, seek and ye shall find, knock and it shall be opened. For everyone that asketh, receive it. He that seeketh, findeth. To him that knocketh, it shall be opened. I carried that 3x5 card with me every day from junior high school all through high school in the years that I was in pursuit of doing what I'm doing right now. So the vision is important. He said, I'll give you all your eyes can see. Holding that vision, had pictures. I had pictures of me speaking to large audiences all around the world. And now I'm manifesting that because all dreams happen twice. First in the mind and then in the without. Your question.
Mine is more so, I just want a bit of advice. So, there's nobody in my family like me. Not that I'm better or worse, it's just
There's nobody in my family like me.
totally different.
Welcome to the club.
Yes, sir.
Okay, yes.
Totally different.
Yes.
So, my question is, I know that if something's going to change with my generations and my last name, it's going to happen with me. And I believe in myself. I do. And sometimes I get discouraged because I'm young and I feel like there's some things that are stacked against me. And I just want to know, what advice do you have for me to keep going, just to keep pushing myself and doing what I'm doing? Because I know I can do it. But like I said, sometimes we all get discouraged and I want to stop.
Well, I'm going to share with you a series of motivational messages. Some you've heard, some you have not heard. One I love very much is the one with me and Miles Monroe. Have you heard those? Me and Miles Monroe?
Is that the guy?
No, he's a minister out of Nassau, Bahamas.
Okay, I have not heard that one.
Okay, you're going to love it. And one with me and Eric Thomas. Have you heard that?
I've heard that one.
Yeah, that's a hot one. But I have some other things that I've created. One called So You Want to Speak. The public has never heard this. And I'm reluctant to share it online because people duplicate your stuff and just give it away. So that's a treasure amount of stuff that I want you to listen to. And Choosing Your Future, and another one called The Power of Purpose, and some other things that are just recorded. Now, why am I doing that? It's because what I did when I was on the road, I was feeding my mind words every day, because I had no one that looked like me, and I had a lot of folks saying you could not do it, including myself. So I had to overpower the thoughts in my mind and keep falling forward, seeing it and experiencing it as if it had already happened. And so that kept me going. And I would call Mike, and I said, Mike, I've hit a wall. And he would talk to me. And when that phone conversation ended, I was fired up and ready to go. He was like a gas tank, you know. He refueled me, and it just gave me the fire to keep on going. I remember one time I said, "Do you really think I can do it, Mike?" He said, "Brownie, yes." And I said, "Thank you." I hung up that phone. I dried my tears, and I had to go. I had to speak to some MBAs. I don't know where I was, but something happened that unnerved me, and I got extremely nervous. And I'm very seldom that nervous before speaking. And he reminded me that you were born to do this, Brownie. You got this. And he spoke. He's a Virgo. I'm Aquarius, but he spoke from such a deep place and touched me in a deep place that I got it. And he said, "Go make me proud." And I wanted to make him proud. Here's the really weird thing. Are you ready for this? Even though he's been my mentor for 51 years, he's only seen me speak maybe 3 or 4 times.
Wow. Really?
I can't speak with him in the audience. And he sneaked in during those times because my staff know, Mike, you can't come in. If he sees you, he's going to lose it.
Just makes you nervous.
Oh, I can't. I don't speak before Mike. I don't do that. One time, I was in Chicago at the Harold Washington Theater, and the place was packed. And so I was speaking, and I went to stage right, and I looked over, and I said to myself, "He looks familiar." And I kept on going, and I walked on that side of the stage, and I looked. I said, "Oh my God." So I went back to the stage right, and I said, "There's a guy over here who saw this Les Brown before. I saw him. This guy over here. He changed my life. This guy over here. He motivated me to do what I'm doing." And I was so emotional. Mm-hmm. And he got up and he came down and he hugged me. I said, "What the hell are you doing here?" And we hugged. Wow. That's the first time I caught it. But then the audience I said, "Man, we can't do this no more." And so our relationship, he's like a father to me. Although there's only 2 years between us, you know. But he's such a great person, just a great human being, and been a great father, and great example for me. Get his book called The Road to Your Best Stuff, Mike Williams. What did you ask me? I got lost in that.
Yeah, I was just asking for that advice to keep myself motivated. And
I want you to get that book, The Road to Your Best Stuff, by him. My new book that's coming out, You Gotta Be Hungry. Okay. And you have access to me. I'll give you my phone number, and I'm going to always be available to you.
I appreciate that.
It's my pleasure. It is my pleasure. I appreciate you. I've been talking to Dayton and Josh. These are 2 young speakers and entrepreneurs. They're from Kentucky. They got a passport to get here to the United States in Atlanta. I like to sing about y'all. And so they love speaking to young people. And I want you to put their phone number up on the screen and invite them in to speak to the young people in your communities. They're young men of integrity, and they have a mission, and they have a calling on their lives, and we should give them all the support that we can. Gentlemen, I want to thank you so very much. Thank you so much. Dayton and Josh Williams, these are some bad brothers up in here. I hear your footsteps, but I'm not scared of you. I want you to know. Yes, thank you so much. You have something special. You have greatness in you. That's our story, and we're sticking to it.